A mind map to guide you through guns, germs, and steel, a Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece. This book has sold over 5 million copies worldwide. It's been translated into more than 30 languages. It dominated the New York Times bestseller list for 2 years straight. It's a game changer in understanding human history and civilization's rise. Introduction: The Roots of Civilization's Gaps. Geography Shapes Fate. Why did Europeans cross oceans to conquer the Americas? Why didn't Native Americans sail to conquer Europe? Why did guns, germs, and steel define some societies' power? Why did others stay stuck in the Stone Age or vanish entirely? These questions feel distant, but they strike at humanity's core. Some blame racial differences. Others point to cultural superiority. But Jared Diamond flips these ideas on their head in this book. He argues civilizations' differences don't come from human talent or drive. They're shaped by geography and environment over millennia. This isn't a victory chant for conquerors. It's a deep exploration of how nature and humanity intertwine. Join us on this journey across time. Let's discover how guns, germs, and steel drove history's course. Chapter 1: History's Starting Line. Geography sets the stage. Picture Earth 11,000 years ago. The Ice Age has just ended. Humans are scattered across continents, living as hunter-gatherers. At that moment, it seems everyone's on the same starting line. But Jared Diamond says that line was never equal. What pushed some towards civilization wasn't intelligence or effort. It was the land beneath their feet and the ecosystems around them. Diamond starts by comparing the continents. Eurasia stretches east to west, covering over 6,000 miles. Its vast temperate zones have stable climates. This let plants and animals spread quickly. Wheat moved from the Middle East to Europe. Rice spread from southern China to Northeast Asia, astonishingly fast. Take wheat. It began in the Fertile Crescent. By 6000 BC, it reached Greece along Mediterranean shores. Within centuries, it swept into Central Europe. This speed came from Eurasia's east-west axis, with matching climates. Contrast that with the Americas and Africa. They stretch north to south, divided by deserts, mountains, and rainforests. These barriers slowed plants and animals' movement. In the Americas, corn took thousands of years to reach North America from Mexico. It had to adapt to tropics and cold plains. In Africa, the Sahara stood like a wall. Crops like sorghum struggled to cross it. This continental divide was history's first split. Geography wasn't just a backdrop, it shaped what could live and grow. Diamond tallied up domesticable plants and animals. Eurasia hit the jackpot. Wheat, rice, and peas thrived here. Horses, cows, and sheep roamed, ready for taming. These fueled the agricultural revolution. He dug deeper. 148 large mammals could have been domesticated. Only 14 made it. 13 were in Eurasia. This wasn't luck, it was ecology at work. Australia's kangaroos were fast but useless for plowing or riding. American llamas carried loads but were too stubborn to rival horses. African zebras looked like horses but were too wild to tame. Nature's uneven gifts decided who settled first. That's when history's starting line began to break apart. Eurasians started farming and herding around 9000 BC. Others kept hunting and gathering, lagging behind. In New Guinea, by 7000 BC, people grew taro and bananas. But these crops were watery and nutrient-poor. They couldn't store like wheat or feed large groups. In the Fertile Crescent, wheat was different. Its high yields and storability fed more people. It freed up time for new inventions. In South America, corn was domesticated by 5000 BC. Early varieties yielded little and needed hand pollination. Climate shifts slowed its spread to North America. These small delays grew into massive gaps over centuries. Farming supported larger populations. It sparked settled villages and innovation. Geography gave some a head start. So how did this uneven start shape what followed? In China's Yellow River Valley, by 7000 BC, people grew millet and foxtail millet. These hardy crops suited the cold, dry north. They laid a strong farming foundation. Archaeology shows Yangshao villages with hundreds of residents. Millet sustained early communities. In South America's Andes, potatoes were tamed by 5000 BC. But rugged terrain and climate changes blocked their spread. At Peru's Caral site around 3000 BC, a city relied on potatoes and cotton. Without livestock, it grew slowly, never forming large settlements. Africa's story is more complex. Tropical sorghum was grown, but no big animals helped. In the Niger River Valley, by 2000 BC, sorghum fed small villages. Hand farming kept yields low, towns under 100 people. Now look at India. Its monsoon rains differed from Eurasia's temperate zones. Yet rice and water buffalo were domesticated. By 6000 BC, Indus Valley farmers grew rice. Buffalo plowed fields, building a unique system. Buffalo thrived in wet, hot climates, perfect for rice paddies. This anchored South Asia's farming routes. But geography set boundaries. This system didn't spread south to Sri Lanka or north to Central Asia. Eurasia's east-west axis was different. Wheat and horses raced from Spain to China. In the Middle East, Fertile Crescent wheat went west to Europe. It also spread east to Iran's highlands and northwest China. This created a vast farming network. Geography's gifts and limits showed early. Ecosystem variety mattered too. The Fertile Crescent had wheat, barley, and wild sheep and goats. These gave meat and hides to early settlers. Australia's ecosystems were simpler. Kangaroos and emus could be hunted. But they weren't steady food sources. The Americas had diverse landscapes. But most large mammals died out at the Ice Age's end. Llamas were the only ones left to domesticate. They couldn't match Eurasia's horses, cows, or sheep. In North America, around 10,000 BC, mammoths and saber-toothed cats vanished. People leaned on small game and plants, delaying farms. Sub-Saharan Africa had plenty of wildlife. But tropical diseases and climate blocked domestication. These ecosystem gaps stretched the starting line further. Let's examine technology's spread. By 7000 BC, Fertile Crescent pottery zipped along Eurasia's axis to Europe. In centuries, it reached Mediterranean coasts. In the Americas, pottery appeared in South America by 3000 BC. The north-south axis slowed its move to North America. This speed difference boosted Eurasia's early lead. Geography didn't just set the start. It shaped progress's pace and reach. Chapter 2: Agriculture's Leverage. Agriculture changed human history forever. Diamond calls it a lever, lifting civilization's foundation. He takes us to the Fertile Crescent, where farming began. This Middle Eastern land had fertile soil and good rain. Wild wheat and barley grew thick on its hills. Around 8500 BC, people started planting these crops. They left nomadic ways behind. Why did farming spark here? It was a perfect mix: right climate, tameable plants, and years of gathering know-how. The Fertile Crescent sat at a crossroads. It linked the Mediterranean, Persian Gulf, and inland steppes. This eased the spread of plants and ideas. Farming didn't happen overnight. Diamond traces the slow shift from wild to tame. Wild wheat seeds fell apart, tough to gather. Early farmers, by chance, picked seeds that held firm. Over time, they bred crops that yielded more. Archaeology shows by 8000 BC, Fertile Crescent wheat was modern. It gave big harvests and resisted drought. It became farming society's backbone. Animals transformed too. Penned wild boars shrank and calmed, becoming pigs. Sheep and goats were tamed by 7000 BC. They gave wool, meat, and milk. This partnership with nature built farming's base. Agriculture's impact went beyond food. It triggered a population boom. Hunter-gatherers supported a few dozen people. Farmers packed hundreds into a square mile. At Jericho in the Fertile Crescent, by 7000 BC, hundreds lived together. Extra crops let some take on new roles. This led to pottery, weaving, and metalwork. Pottery stored grain and cooked meals. Weaving made better clothes. Metalwork forged stronger tools and weapons. Even bigger, farming created social layers. Surplus food fed priests, crafters, and rulers who didn't farm. In Mesopotamia, by 4000 BC, Uruk grew into a city. Tens of thousands lived there. Extra crops powered temples and palaces. Villages became cities, then nations. But this lever didn't work everywhere. In New Guinea, taro and bananas were grown. Their low nutrients couldn't support complex societies. Sites from 5000 BC show small villages. They held dozens, never growing into cities. In Australia, poor soils and scarce plants blocked farming. Aboriginal tools stayed stone-based until the 1700s. Geography limited farming's spread. Fertile Crescent crops reached Europe and China. But Africa's tropics stopped them. In Egypt, by 4000 BC, Nile farmers grew wheat. Ox-drawn plows boosted harvests, fueling the Pyramid Age. South of the Sahara, sorghum was tamed. Pests and no livestock kept yields small. Let's explore farming's variety. In China's Yangtze Valley, by 7000 BC, rice farming started. Warm, wet climates nurtured wild rice. Centuries later, it became East Asia's staple. Rice fields needed complex water systems. This drove organization and invention. By 4000 BC, Liangzhu sites show huge dams and rice paddies. Villages grew denser. In the Americas, corn was tamed by 5000 BC. Early ears were small and needed hand pollination. Climate shift slowed its spread north. The Olmec, by 2000 BC, grew corn in Central America. No livestock meant slow growth, no vast empires. In India, by 6000 BC, monsoons and the Ganges plain fed rice and wheat. Tamed water buffalo plowed fields, lifting yields. This supported cities like Harappa. But geography blocked its reach. It didn't spread to Sri Lanka or Central Asia. In Africa's Niger Valley, by 2000 BC, sorghum grew. Hand farming and diseases kept societies small. Agriculture's power varied by continent. Geography shaped its strength. Let's look at social structures. In Egypt, the Nile's floods watered crops naturally. By 4000 BC, wheat and barley farmers used oxen. Yields soared, birthing a great civilization. Pharaohs ruled with tight control. In Australia's dry interior, rain was scarce. Thin soils made crops impossible. People hunted and gathered, staying in tribes. Agriculture's lever worked differently everywhere. It set the stage for civilization's rise or fall. Chapter 3. The power of animals' livestock speeds things up. If agriculture is civilization's base, animals are its accelerator. Diamond counted 140 to large mammals worldwide. Only 14 were domesticated. 13 came from Eurasia. Horses, cows, sheep, pigs, and dogs gave more than meat and hides. They reshaped farming and fighting. Horses were a revolution. Around 4000 BC, Central Asian nomads rode them. Travel jumped from 5 miles an hour to 40. In Ukraine, Yamnaya culture sites from 4000 BC show horse-drawn carts. By 3000 BC, cavalry emerged. Horses plowed fields, doubling output. As war mounts, they gave riders unmatched speed. On Central Asian steppes, by 2000 BC, chariots changed warfare. Nomads on horseback conquered neighbors. In the Americas, llamas couldn't plow or be ridden. They only carried loads in the Andes. Africa's zebras were too wild to tame. Animals gave Eurasia a huge advantage. Livestock's variety amplified this. Cows hauled carts and plowed, besides feeding people. Sheep's wool warmed against cold. Pigs bred fast, keeping villages fed. In the Fertile Crescent, by 6000 BC, sites show mixed herds. Cows, sheep, and pigs formed a full system. In the Americas, llamas were the only big domesticated animal. Their uses were limited, no match for Eurasia's lineup. In Africa, cows were tamed. But tsetse flies killed many, curbing their role. Livestock brought a surprise: germs. Living with animals exposed Eurasians to diseases. Smallpox, measles, and flu crossed over. Crowded villages spread them fast. Over time, people built immunity. Smallpox likely came from cow viruses. It turned deadly over centuries. When Europeans carried these to the Americas, they devastated natives. Diamond says this wasn't planned. It was a side effect of animal domestication. Animals shaped culture and trade too. Herding cows and sheep built steppe empires. In the 1200s CE, Mongols swept Eurasia on horseback. They made history's largest land empire. Wagons sped trade. By 200 BCE, Silk Road carts and camels carried Chinese silk to Rome. This tied East and West together. Without livestock, Australia and South America relied on human labor. Aboriginals hauled goods with wooden tools. It was slow, blocking big trade networks. Animals put Eurasia's civilizations in high gear. Let's dig into animals' roles. In India, by 3000 BC, water buffalo plowed rice fields. They gave meat and leather, fueling Harappa's cities. In East Africa, cows were tamed. But harsh climates kept them scarce. Herders leaned on them but stayed small. In the Americas, llamas carried goods. But they were few and limited, unlike Eurasia's herds. Animals' impact depended on geography. Chapter 4. Germs' hidden power: disease as a silent killer. Germs often slip under history's radar. Diamond calls them a key to conquest. He points to Spain's takedown of the Inca Empire. In 1532, Pizarro led 168 men into Inca lands. They faced tens of thousands but won with ease. Guns weren't the main weapon, smallpox was. In the 1520s, smallpox arrived with Europeans. It tore through the Inca, killing Emperor Huayna Capac and countless others. It left chaos and weakness. Records show the plague broke the Inca before Pizarro arrived. Their society crumbled. Why were germs so deadly? Diamond traces them to farming life. Villages and animal pens bred diseases. Eurasia's dense populations and trade spread them fast. Smallpox came from cowpox. Measles grew from cattle diseases. Flu tied to birds and pigs. These plagued the Old World for millennia. Survivors passed on stronger genes. In Europe, the Black Death killed a third in the Middle Ages. Those left had tougher defenses. The Americas had no big livestock or crowded cities. Natives never faced these germs. Aztec and Inca cities were large but lacked Europe's germ pools. When Europeans came, diseases were an invisible army. They killed over 90% of natives. Germs struck elsewhere too. Australian Aboriginals had no defense against European flu and tuberculosis. In 1788, British settlers landed in Sydney. In decades, Aboriginal numbers fell from hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands. Germs did most of the damage. Africa was trickier. Malaria and yellow fever slowed Europeans. But smallpox crushed inland tribes. In West Africa, by the 1800s, smallpox spread via trade routes. It shattered tribal alliances. Diamond stresses germs weren't alone. They grew from farming and animals. With guns, they powered Europe's expansion. Let's track germs' paths. After Columbus landed in 1492, smallpox swept the Caribbean. In years, native populations fell from hundreds of thousands to a few thousand. By 1519, smallpox hit the Aztec Empire. It weakened their armies, letting Cortes take Tenochtitlan with 500 men. In Europe, germs brought pain but also progress. After the Black Death in the 1300s, cities built quarantine systems. This laid modern health foundations. Long exposure made Eurasians germ carriers. Others became victims. Chapter 5. The stage for guns and steel competition breeds weapons. Guns and steel are history's loud symbols. But Diamond says they're just the surface. Their roots tied to everything we've covered. Gunpowder started in China. Metalworking spread across Eurasia. Europe turned these into deadly tools. Why did Europeans weaponize them first? Complex societies and constant rivalry explain it. Eurasia was full of warring states. From Greek city-states to medieval lords, conflict drove progress. Firearms evolved fast. In the 1300s, they were crude. By the 1500s, flintlock muskets were lethal. The Hundred Years' War showed it. Cannons changed sieges, sparking stronger forts. The Inca Empire, vast but unified, had no rivals. Its tech stalled at stone and bronze. Incas carved stunning stoneworks, but their armies used wooden clubs and stone axes. Competition didn't just make weapons. It sharpened organization. Europe's navigation and military skills crossed oceans. Steel was just as big. Around 1200 BCE, iron reached Europe. It beat brittle bronze. Iron plows boosted crops. Iron swords won fights. The Roman Empire proved it. Iron legions conquered half of Europe. Iron plows fed the home front. Australia and the Americas had no metalworking. No resources or need sparked it. Aboriginal stone spears were sharp but no match for steel. Inca bronze was pretty but broke against steel swords. The stage for guns and steel was built long ago. The agricultural revolution set it up. Let's trace tech spread. Gunpowder began in China in the 800s CE. It powered fireworks and early weapons. By the 1200s, Mongols took it to the Middle East. In the 1400s, Europeans made cannons. After 1492, Spanish ships had artillery. They smashed American walls with ease. In the Americas, the north-south axis froze tech spread. Maya math never reached the Inca. This tech gap made guns and steel conquests icons. Chapter 6. Writing and organizations boost knowledge fuels expansion. Civilization's gaps aren't just about things. Diamond highlights invisible forces, writing and organization. Writing sped up ideas and knowledge. Around 3000 BC, Sumerians created cuneiform. Egypt and China followed with hieroglyphs. Writing tracked taxes, laws, and science. It made governing sharper. In China, Shang dynasty oracle bones held more than prophecies. They logged wars and harvests, building centralized rule. In Eurasia, writing flowed via trade. Phoenician letters led to Greek, then Latin. In Greece, by 800 BCE, widespread writing fueled philosophy and science. American Maya script was intricate, but it stuck to religion and stars, not governance. Australia and New Guinea had no writing. Oral knowledge slowed progress. Organization mattered just as much. Europe's feudal and church systems built complex networks. In the Age of Sail, Spain mobilized armies and resources fast. Columbus's 192 voyage had Spanish royal backing. The Inca Empire had tight control. But it lacked flexibility and fell fast. Writing and organization gave Eurasia a massive edge. Chapter 7. History's Crossroads Environment Wins Out. In 1532, Pizarro faced Inca Emperor Atahualpa. It was a clash that decided two worlds. Guns, germs, and steel collided. But Diamond warns, this wasn't Europe's personal victory. It was geography's long chain reaction. From fertile crescent farms to tamed animals, nature set the path. Germs and tech built on each other. Why didn't China conquer? Diamond says China had the tools. But its unified empire lacked rivalry. Gunpowder stayed ceremonial. Voyages stopped in the 1400s. Ming Dynasty's sang he sailed far, showing power. But policy shifts halted expansion. Europe's divided states bred competition. That drove conquest. History's twists make you think. Today's world echoes the past. Rich nations' tech and wealth tied to ancient geographic wins. Struggling nations face nature's limits. Africa's tropics teem with life. But they curb farming and livestock. Diamond says this isn't fate. It's a starting point for change. History's lever keeps moving. Our choices shape its path. Conclusion. Past to future learning sparks change. This book is a conversation through time. It shows civilization's gaps aren't set in stone. They come from environment and choices. Guns, germs, and steel were history's tools. Geography pulled the strings. From the Fertile Crescent's first seed to Pizarro's musket, humanity played on nature's stage. Diamond's insights explain the past. They also light up the present. We can't change geography's start. But we can learn from history. Tech and germs still shape our world. Think of globalization's reach or pandemic's grip. Understanding these forces is our first step forward. This book's power lies in its depth. It reveals history's vastness and calls us to act.